It was designed to have the firepower of a battleship, but the radar signature of a fishing boat. This is the USS Zumwalt, a stealth destroyer so advanced it was meant to redefine naval warfare for the 21st century. It was a multi-billion-dollar experiment, packed with revolutionary technology, built around a single, bold idea: change the way wars at sea are fought. But instead of becoming the backbone of the US Navy, the Zumwalt program quietly collapsed, leaving behind just 3 ships, and a reputation as one of the most controversial warships ever built. For years, it was labeled a failure, a technological marvel without a clear mission. Today, the Navy is trying to give it a second life, one that could turn this ghost of the future into one of the most dangerous vessels on the planet. The second you see it, the USS Zumwalt looks like it sailed right out of a science fiction movie. Just like stealth aircraft, its strange, angular shape isn't just for show, it's the key to its survival in a modern, sensor-driven battlefield. It's called a tumble-home hull, a design that slopes inward from the waterline up, deliberately deflecting radar energy away from its source. That, combined with composite materials and a fully enclosed superstructure, makes this 610-foot, about 186 meters, 16,000-ton warship incredibly hard to detect. To an enemy radar, this massive destroyer appears no larger than a small fishing boat, a ghost moving across the waves. The Zumwalt and its 2 sister ships, the USS Michael Monsoor and USS Lyndon B. Johnson, were born from a bold idea in the 1990s: to take over the land attack mission once handled by heavily armored battleships. Their role was straightforward but ambitious: provide overwhelming, precision naval gunfire in support of troops fighting ashore, deep inland. The Navy was so confident in both the concept and the technology that it originally planned to build a fleet of 32 of these advanced warships, enough to reshape how surface combatants operated worldwide. Everything about the Zumwalt was meant to break with tradition. The ship was designed to operate with a much smaller crew, thanks to unprecedented levels of automation and digital control systems. It features a unique peripheral vertical launch system, or PVLS, with 80 missile cells distributed along the outer hull instead of clustered in the center, increasing survivability if the ship were hit. Most importantly, it introduced an integrated power system, essentially a floating power plant. Its gas turbines don't just turn the propellers, they generate up to 78 megawatts of electricity, enough to power a small city. That enormous energy reserve was intended not only for sensors and propulsion, but for an entirely new generation of advanced weapons. This way of thinking was shaped by its time. The Zumwalt emerged in the post-Cold War era, when US naval planners believed future conflicts would be fought close to hostile coastlines, against regional powers rather than peer naval competitors. Precision strikes, stealth, and long-range land attack took priority over traditional fleet-on-fleet combat. The Zumwalt was never designed to trade broadsides with enemy warships. It was built to dominate the battle space from just offshore, largely unseen. And at the heart of the Zumwalt, both physically and conceptually, were its 2 massive 155mm advanced gun systems, or AGS. These fully automated cannons were the largest guns mounted on a surface combatant since World War II, capable of firing up to 10 rounds per minute from each mount. But they weren't just about raw size. They were designed to fire a specialized, rocket-assisted, GPS-guided shell known as the Long-Range Land Attack Projectile, or LRLAP. Each round was meant to travel roughly 60 miles and strike targets with near-missile accuracy. The vision was clear: stealth destroyers lurking offshore, delivering precise, sustained firepower far inland. The reality turned out to be far more complicated. The Zumwalt's dream began to crumble under the brutal weight of one thing: cost. The price of all that innovation was staggering, reflecting not just the ship's size and complexity, but the cutting-edge technology packed into every system. The total program cost for just 3 ships swelled to a jaw-dropping $22.5 billion once you include research, development, testing, and integration. That works out to about $7.5 billion per ship, making the Zumwalt the most expensive destroyer ever built, by a long shot, and placing it in the same league as some of the largest warships in history. For comparison, a modern Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, the backbone of the US Navy, costs around $2.5 to $2.7 billion per ship. Even massive nuclear-powered aircraft carriers like the Gerald R. Ford class come in at about $13 billion each. In other words, the Navy built a destroyer that cost several times more than its workhorse ships, and not far off the price of the most expensive warships ever put to sea. The Zumwalt's staggering price tag was a reflection of its ambition, a ship that pushed boundaries in stealth, automation, and firepower, but one that left little room for flexibility or compromise. As the costs spiraled out of control, the Navy's ambitions shrank. The planned fleet of 32 ships was first reduced to 24, then cut to 7, and finally, in 2008, Congress pulled the plug entirely, capping the program at just 3 ships. That decision, made to rein in the budget, inadvertently triggered a cascade of problems. With so few ships being built, many of the systems designed to be mass-produced became impractically expensive on such a small scale, creating challenges that no one had fully anticipated. Here's the problem: the ammunition. The LR-LAP shells were custom-made only for the advanced gun system. The AGS couldn't fire any other shell, and the LR-LAP couldn't be used in any other gun. When the Navy was planning on 32 ships, they intended to buy thousands of these rounds, which would have made the cost per shell manageable. But with only 3 ships and a grand total of 6 guns in the entire fleet, the number of rounds they needed to purchase plummeted, sending the unit cost skyrocketing. The result was a budget catastrophe. The development costs, previously spread across thousands of rounds, were now concentrated over a tiny production run. By 2016, the price of a single LR-LAP shell had exploded to an unbelievable $800,000 to $1 million per shot. To put that in perspective, firing just 1 round from the Zumwalt's main gun cost nearly as much as a Tomahawk cruise missile, around $1.8 million, which can travel over 1,000 miles to hit its target. The Navy was left with a ship that, quite literally, had guns too expensive to fire. So in November 2016, just weeks after the USS Zumwalt was commissioned, the Navy officially canceled the LR-LAP ammunition program. There was no Plan B. No alternative round was ever put into service. A weapon system that had been the centerpiece of the entire ship was suddenly useless, leaving the Zumwalt without a primary mission. Just like that, the multi-billion-dollar advanced gun systems, the very reason the ship was conceived, were rendered completely ineffective. The stealth destroyer had guns that couldn't shoot. It remained a technological marvel, bristling with innovation, but it was also a mission failure. The Zumwalt had become a ghost ship in more ways than one, not only invisible to radar, but now lacking a clear purpose. For a while, it seemed the program would go down as one of the most expensive and ambitious blunders in modern military history, a cautionary tale about the risks of pioneering too far, too fast. For years, the 3 Zumwalt-class ships were seen as beautiful but largely useless. Admirers marveled at their futuristic design and stealth capabilities, but without a functioning primary weapon, their potential seemed unrealized. Yet the story wasn't over. While the original mission had failed, the ship's most expensive and technologically advanced feature also held the key to a new chapter. That revolutionary 78-megawatt integrated power system, capable of generating more electricity than some small towns, gave the Navy an opportunity to repurpose the ships for a far more formidable role. A new plan was born: transform the Zumwalt from a failed gunfire platform into a first-of-its-kind hypersonic strike vessel. The now useless advanced gun systems would be removed entirely, and in their place, the Navy would install specialized launch tubes designed to fire the next generation of naval weapons, hypersonic missiles. This conversion was not merely an upgrade, it was a complete reimagining of the ship's purpose, leveraging its enormous energy reserves and stealth to carry weapons that no other destroyer could handle. Starting in August 2023, the USS Zumwalt entered dry dock for an extensive and highly complex overhaul. Shipbuilders carefully removed the two 155mm gun mounts and began installing modules for the conventional prompt strike, or CPS, weapon system. These hypersonic missiles are the same type being developed for the Army and the Navy's Virginia-class submarines, designed for rapid, long-range, and highly maneuverable strikes. The engineering challenge was immense, integrating these weapons into a hull originally optimized for a completely different system, while maintaining balance, stealth, and survivability. These weapons are true game changers. A hypersonic missile travels at over 5 times the speed of sound and is capable of evasive maneuvers, making it incredibly difficult for existing missile defenses to intercept. By adding these capabilities, the Zumwalt's effective strike range jumps from roughly 60 miles with its canceled guns to over 1,700 miles, giving the Navy a unique ability to hit high-value targets from far offshore. But this transformation doesn't erase the fundamental limits of the program. With only 3 ships in existence, the Zumwalt-class cannot single-handedly redefine naval warfare. Each vessel is an extremely high-value asset, costly to operate, and impossible to replace quickly if lost in a conflict. Rather than forming the backbone of the fleet, the Zumwalts are evolving into rare, specialized platforms, designed for highly specific, precision missions that leverage both stealth and immense firepower. The Zumwalt's unique design makes it ideal for this mission. Its enormous hull provides space for the massive missile modules, while the integrated power system can support energy-intensive weapons, including future hypersonics and potentially directed energy systems like lasers. Combined with its stealthy profile, the ship can operate close to hostile coastlines, striking targets with little warning and minimal risk of detection. The transformation is already well underway. The USS Zumwalt floated out of dry dock in December 2024 with its guns removed and the new launch system installed. The Navy plans the first live-fire test of a hypersonic missile from the Zumwalt around 2027. The other 2 ships are set to follow. The USS Lyndon B. Johnson is already undergoing its conversion at the shipyard, while the USS Michael Monsoor will be upgraded next, with the goal of having all 3 operational by 2028, based at Pearl Harbor, and ready for their new role in naval warfare. The story of the USS Zumwalt is a powerful lesson. It's a cautionary tale about how spiraling costs can cripple even the most ambitious projects. The ship was designed to be a battleship for the 21st century, but its main guns fell silent before they ever fired a shot. Yet, from the ashes of that failure, a new, and arguably more formidable, warship is rising. It's no longer a naval gunfire platform, but a stealthy, first-strike hypersonic missile carrier. The 3 ships of the Zumwalt class were never the backbone of the fleet they were meant to be. Instead, they've become a tip-of-the-spear force, a small but lethal trio designed to hold an enemy's most valuable assets at risk from anywhere on the globe. From a failed destroyer to one of the most feared ships on the planet, the Zumwalt's final chapter is still being written. It now stands not as a monument to what went wrong, but as a bold testament to the future of naval warfare. What do you think? Is the enormous cost of the Zumwalt finally justified by this new hypersonic mission? Or is it too little too late for a class of only 3 ships? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you're interested in more stories about military tech, make sure to subscribe and leave a like. Goodbye!